Hello friends and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky and today we're going to be talking about preparedness for feminists. If you're brand new, I want to say a great big welcome. I'm really glad you found this slice of the internet. And if you're not new, I want to say welcome back. I'm glad that you are joining me once again. Friends, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss a video. And if this video is inspiring or interesting for you, please share it with a friend, share it to your Facebook page or to other social media platforms so that we can get the word out that you can be prepared for emergencies without having to be afraid. All right, so we're talking about preparedness for feminists, and I want to do a little bit of defining of the terms. The first thing I want to say is that everybody can be prepared. If you are prepared for an emergency, regardless of your gender identity, your self-identity, your political affiliation, you're a prepper and you're prepared. Okay, so we have that put aside, but what does it mean to specifically prepare for feminists? So we need to define what a feminist is. Now I could go into a whole video rant about what first, second, and third wave feminism is and what that means, but the key here is that feminists believe in choice, particularly for marginalized people. So first wave feminism was all about the suffragette movement and getting choice around voting into the hands of white women, but it was about getting women who were a minority, who were totally outside of the political sphere. They weren't allowed to vote. Their husbands voted for them, right? They wanted choice and representation. So first wave feminism was about the choice to vote. Second wave feminism was about the choice to work or not work, to have babies or not have babies, to have access to your own finances. Please remember that it was in the 70s that women could get credit cards with their names on them, right? Like it is within like less than a lifetime ago, half a lifetime ago. We couldn't have credit cards with women's name on them that weren't also in their husband's names. And if your dad or your husband didn't sign off, you couldn't have credit. Can you imagine how many of these trad mom entrepreneurs couldn't have access? I just can't. That's another video for another time. But the whole point was expanding access to choice, the choice to work, the choice to stay home but have access to your own finances, the choice to have babies or not have babies, the choice to be an autonomous individual. Third wave feminism, which is where we find ourselves now, is expanding choice. And in a nutshell, it's all about expanding choice beyond the gender binary to male and female, but to all gender identities, all sexual orientations, to people who are traditionally marginalized. This is where I say things like womanist and mujerista theologies and viewpoints are about raising up traditionally Black voices, Latinx voices, and indigenous voices that have been marginalized by white feminists. So the idea now is that feminism is about embracing the most choice for the most people, and that means equity and equality, because you need to have more equity in order to secure more choices. By the way, if you want to think about choice as an economic factor, you can check out the excellent, though slightly dense book, Development as Freedom by Amartya Sen. He's an economist. Y'all, it is life-changing. We think about economics as money, but actually money is just access to choices. It's just access to choices. And if you think about it that way, your preparedness, your lifestyle, your planning, your viewpoint is going to expand and it's going to be amazing. So Development as Freedom, Amartya Sen, I'll link it down below. It is a dense read, but if you're a nerd, I suggest you check it out. Feminism in a nutshell is about expanding choice. And if we think about emergency preparedness, what happens in emergencies? You lose access to choice. Okay, you lose access to choice. If there's a storm and your power is out, you've lost the access to choose to have power, right? You've lost the access to choose to charge your phone, to have the internet, to have life-saving generators. Your choice options about what to do are shrunk because you have lost access to that utility. The same thing goes when we think about poverty in general. People who are poor lack choices. They don't have the choice to go to college. They don't have the choice to drive their car to work because they can't afford a car. They have to wait on the bus. They have a lack of choices. They don't have the choice to just move if the economic options are too limited in their neighborhood. We forget that money is ultimately just about choices. And if we think about this as a part of our preparedness plan, as a feminist, you want to secure the most choices for the most people, particularly for the most marginalized in society, which has traditionally been women and people of color or people of non-gender binary identities. If you want to secure choice, you plan ahead and you prepare to insulate yourself from a lack of choice during emergencies. Now, I know that that's kind of a big macro college course level understanding of emergency preparedness, but let's break it down and look at actual specific options. Things you can think about. If we look at Hurricane Ian right now, there are a lot of people who don't have access to food. Their refrigerators went and their food in their fridge and freezers are bad. Maybe they only had a few days worth of food in their pantries. Maybe their houses were totally destroyed and so all of their emergency food is now gone. They have a lack of choice. Because they don't have access to their own food resources, they must, in order to eat, put themselves in a vulnerable situation by standing in a food line, by going out into a crowd of people to get relief boxes. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad choice, but they don't have another choice. It's be hungry, right? Or go get relief food. And if you go get relief food, particularly if you are a woman identifying person or a non-gender binary person, you are now exposing yourself to crowds of people and you don't know their motivations. You don't know how they're going to react. You may not want to be in the neighborhood that you have found yourself in, and it's dangerous for you to be out in public. You have a lack of options because you don't have that insulation. Now, of course, in this example, someone could have been a prepper and had their house washed away, okay? Like, it's not their fault if their house got washed away and all of their 1 year supply of emergency food is now gone, right? I suspect somebody with a year's supply of emergency food also has a bug out location, but we're looking at this as an idea of choice. You might have somebody who's always kept a 2 or 3 month pantry, not even thinking of themselves as a prepper. They're just old school like that, and the food is gone, or they've eaten through a lot of it, or it's bad because they weren't rotating it, or whatever. They have a lack of choices. Think about it this way. If you are someone who is dependent upon a medication for your well-being, if you don't have backup medication, you now face a lack of choices. Your choices could be death in the event that you are diabetic, right? Diabetics without their insulin die. That's a scary thing. That's a scary reality that all of us in the prepping community have to wrestle with, is that there aren't a lot of ways to keep insulin cold in emergencies. So you have a lack of choice there. If you're on other forms of medication, do you ration? Do you try to store backup? Do you work with your doctor to prepare ahead of time to get a 1 month backup supply or a 2 week backup supply? These are ways in which you can begin to insulate yourself as best as possible from the effects of a disaster that limit your choices. Let's think about this in terms not just of material goods, but as far as skills. Let's say you choose to invest in learning some basic carpentry and a little bit of electrical wiring. Not a lot, but enough to patch a hole in a roof, to turn off the electrical stuff, rewire something simple. You invest in that skill set. Now you aren't reliant upon some stranger who you might need to bring in the middle of a disaster to fix your broken shelter. You may not need to rely upon a often masculine, I'm going to use the stereotype of men being more construction oriented, and you don't have to rely upon a strange man to bring that skill set to you that could put you in a vulnerable position. If you learn self-defense, you now have a few more choices in the event that you find yourself in a vulnerable situation. The idea here as a feminist is that you want to preserve as many choice options for yourself and for your vulnerable community as possible. And preparedness, food and water storage, medical storage, self-defense skills, all of these help you create more choice. They create insulation around choice. Feminists can prepare not because we believe in a doomsday and not because we believe in conspiracies about the Illuminati, but we can prepare because we believe in choices. We believe in preserving choices for ourselves and for our communities, and we see it as an opportunity to be empowered when, not if, a disaster strikes our communities. So why do feminists prep and how do they prep? Well, they prep by insulating choices. And you're gonna have to look at your own lifestyle to see where you're gonna put your time and your energy and your money into creating that insulation of choice. Is it food storage and water storage? For myself, as a mom, food and water storage is absolutely central to my preparedness because I want to create as many choices possible for my children, as well as myself and my spouse. But you might not have kids. Maybe you're someone who's sort of a digital nomad, so food and water storage doesn't make sense. Is it making sure you have cash on hand or you have specific retreat locations that you can get to and you know where they are as you're traveling? Is it having self-defense under your belt so that if you're in a vulnerable situation, you have some skills to help take care of yourself and any other people you find yourself with? These are all things that you can invest your time and your energy and your money into learning or storing or creating. The point is to keep as many choices available to you as possible. That's what all of preparedness is about. It's about making choices now to preserve your options and choices in the future. Friends, comment down below and let me know, what do you think about my definition of feminism and my understanding of feminist preparedness? I think that feminist prepping is a big deal, and getting more feminists to understand prepping and the idea of feminism as choice and preserving choice is a key component, not just a better dialogue around feminism and rights and choices here in the global West, but also about having better preparedness plans and more people prepared for emergencies. As always, if you want to catch up with me outside of YouTube, you can find my links to my Instagram and to the Facebook group down in the description section. You can also find access to my inventory bundle. So if you want to go through all of your household gear to make sure you have as many choices as possible, but you need a little bit of extra support making sure you know what to grab, then definitely look down below and get my inventory bundle. It is useful. It's got hyperlinks. It's a great resource for you to be able to inventory your household, your pantry, your gear, to have a realistic sense of what is useful, what's needed, and where your gaps are. Friends, I hope that you stay safe. I hope that you have as many choices in your life as possible. And until the next video, happy prepping.